Stephen, what's your view about this, particularly because they've shown interest in uranium and the rare earths, as Nathan just mentioned?
Well, that's right. The bid to get control of Lynas, the Sydney-based rare earth company, has raised a few eyebrows because there's been criticism around the world that China has been cornering some of those precious metal markets and manipulating the market, and now they're making a play for one of Australia's precious metals, rare earths companies that few people really know much about, Lynas. But it fits in with a long line of other investments. This week we had their first play on uranium, where they've agreed to spend $100 million, moving to 70% of Energy Metals, a Perth-based company which has got a very lucrative uranium deposit 300 kilometres north of Alice Springs. So if they can start getting into uranium, I mean, it's a portfolio approach. They want to be in everything. They're doing deals with Moscow in oil, they're in Africa, they're in South America. They're buying up all our commodities. Iron ore was obviously the big one through Rio. They've got 9% of Rio, and they're bankrolling a whole bunch of second and third tier miners, from Perilia to a whole range of them, and they're agreeing to spend close to $10 billion developing greenfield projects from Cape York to the Pilbara to the Midwest to WA. So it's a remarkable strategy that this communist government is doing to try and shore up their supplies of resources, to deliver their infrastructure, to deal with the mass urbanisation from country to coastal cities that is the phenomenon of China.
Yeah. Stephen, just on that Lynas deal, I mean, you mentioned about China being criticised for potentially curbing the market. I mean, they've got something like 97% of the production of rare earths, the global production, and FIRB still has to give its approval, and for the second time, a week ago, it delayed that approval, which it seemed to indicate to everyone that they were concerned about that.
Well, I think there's a very strong argument for rejecting it. Because, I mean, the pattern we're seeing, what the reports that are coming out, is that they have got this ridiculous market share, and that they are interested in, distorting supply, and the Japanese are really concerned.
They're limiting exports, aren't they, from China?
So if they're not going to run an open, transparent market in this, well then, of course Australia shouldn't let them come in and take control of the Lynas and this continue their pattern of distorting a global market. So I think on iron ore and other things, obviously China would never be one of the majors, but in something like this, a fairly niche market, I think there are very strong grounds for FIRB to say we don't think it's in the national interest or in the interest of the global market in this commodity for the Chinese government to get control, given their behaviour around the world with the way they're doing it.
All right, so FIRB should reject it.
On this one, it's the first one I've seen where I think there's a very strong case for FIRB to simply say not in the national interest. Go out there and show you can actually properly supply a global market from your position of dominance, and then we'll consider whether you can come in and get even more dominance down under.